Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires? L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Rimouski, Nejet, Témiscouata, Les Basques. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague. And I remember his old riding name, but not the new one. What is it? Coast of Bays?
Thank you very much. Je suis très heureux, en fait.
I'm very pleased that he made this speech because it showed his high level of interest in this very important issue. But there's one angle he neglected to mention, and I'd like to hear what he has to say about it, and that is the idea of controlling the seal population, whether we're talking about gray seals or harp seals, and their effect on cod stocks in the Gulf of the St. Lawrence. The cod take a long time to bounce back, and Fisheries and Oceans have said that the fact that they regenerate so slowly is due to the growing gray seal population. In the past 50 years, they've gone from 10,000 to almost 1 million seals. So there's a cultural issue, there's an economic issue, but there's also the issue of fish stocks and the impact on ecosystems, the need to control the seal population. I'd like to hear what he has to say about that important issue.
Central Notre Dame.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. He brings up a very valid point, and he's right. I did neglect to mention, I didn't get around to the conservation aspect vis-a-vis other species, and the crowded ecosystem coming from both harp seals and gray seals. He's absolutely right. And I thank him because some of the most passionate advocates for the commercial seal hunt have come from the province of Quebec, incidentally, much like my own. Nevertheless, as part of the ecosystem, the recovery of cod, yes, seals are a factor. Obviously, overfishing is a major factor as well, but certainly they are. And there may come a time when we may have to curb the population measures like we do with other species, which could create many problems. There are countries that do that condemn us and part of the seal ban, that actually Sweden is one of them. They do have a cull on seals that affects their shores. Because of that, Scotland, other place with seals, where they're talking about culls, and this has to be addressed, and he's right in the sense that it hasn't been fully addressed yet as to how, of the 7.4 million harp seals out there, how they mix with the ecosystem. We know a lot, but we're going to have to know more, because now with the recovery of cod on the East Coast, the seals are going to play a major factor in that recovery, and we have to get to that. Thank you very much.
Questions et commentaires? Questions and comments? The honourable member for Durham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my friend for bringing this issue and for his charming bow tie here in the House today. I'm wondering whether he might comment about the troubling practice where sometimes people will judge a practice or a cultural element of a society like the seal hunt in Newfoundland and Labrador without having even appreciated or visited or gotten to know the people who engage in that traditional practice, whether First Nations or whether Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. We all remember the cases with celebrities coming onto ice floes and not even sure what province or part of the country they were in, yet they were condemning the practice that has been a livelihood for people for generations. Would the member care to comment on how debates like this in the chamber can actually allow for a thoughtful discussion about how a diverse country like Canada has these unique traditions, heritages that should not be condemned by people that don't even know the people or the practices at issue? Thank you.
Honourable member for Coast of Bay, Central Notre Dame.
I want to thank the member for Durham for his comments, and also with a comment about my charming bow tie as I stand here blushing shamelessly. That's very sweet. Thank you. I want to say also that he's right, very correct. The incident he talks about, by the way, not knowing where they're from, the celebrity was Paul McCartney, who was in Prince Edward Island, claiming that he was in Newfoundland and Labrador. But all that aside, that was a part of the problem, the misunderstanding, as he points out, the lack of understanding that took place. They go and witness the actual harvest itself. They do not go and witness the cultural aspect that follows from the harvest. That's the problem. If they did, they would probably not come back in a way that they first came. They would go back with a greater appreciation. I think about a former Governor General who took part in the eating ceremony of the seal meat. It was really something at the time. And I wish that these celebrities would do that. But of course, politics, A lot of people will say that politicians from Quebec or Newfoundland and Labrador, it's easy for them to be in favor of the seal harvest because it's a popular thing. But in Europe, it's a popular thing to be on the other side of the argument. But at least I can say that politicians, the vast majority from Quebec, from Newfoundland and Labrador, and across this country, have a better understanding of the seal harvest than the protesters. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.